Now, if you brought your cups or your bowls today, I want you to do an experiment. Take one of your objects, whatever that might be, pebble, pebble, whatever. I have platonic solids because it's what was in my in the eminent way room down here. And observe the surface of the fluid, the water, whatever it is, as you drop it in. What do you notice? Now, hang on, don't drop them all in unless you got a
Well,
lot,
I
of
wasn't
course.
looking. I was looking at the camera, so I'm going to do it again.
All right, do it again. Take another. This time, do it somewhat off center.
Yeah.
Yeah. What are you starting to observe?
Makes ripples.
Ah, the ripple. Yes. What does it do?
They go out and then I'm not sure if they come back.
And they bounce back, yeah.
Bounce back, yeah.
And they might even do that a few times, depending on the size of it. It bounces back. So you have an impulse, which is the original impulse, you dropping something into it, and then you have this kind of ripple that spreads out, and then it bounces off the edges of the cup and bounces back in, and then it reaches its center and it bounces back out again and again a few times. Yeah, as you do this, it doesn't matter the amount of times. It's just a curiosity that yeah, it bounces 7 times. But what does that tell you? Let's take it in the idea of our local, not gods up there, not that sort of equilibrium where it's truly unchanging, but our local expression of the law of one. Laws of thermodynamics. All right. One of them, roughly speaking, is that every action incurs an equal and opposite reaction. And that's the kind of universe we live in. Things bounce off the edge and come back to the center and bounce off of itself and go back to the edge, and so on and so forth. Yeah, we live in this. If you want to draw it diagrammatically, I suppose you could say that there's a bubble around all of this, and this sits outside of that bubble. That's that shock. Okay, so the universe, this boundary. You see, bubble surrounding this aspect. Again, I really want to drive this home because I want you to understand what you are actually playing around with right now is the law of equilibrium, which in the cosmic sense is known as the law of one. Now, at each level in the ray of creation, you get a slightly different manifestation of it. At our level, we get this kind of bounce back. And what it's trying to do, what nature is trying to do in your cup or in your bowl, is to return it back to its original state. Return it back to this state of equilibrium. Okay, presumably, if you're not bumping the table or whatever, the glass or bowl is just sitting there in the meantime, right, in this state of equilibrium. And then you do something to it. You drop a bit of water into it, touch your finger on it, drop a stone in or a quarter in, and it causes something, which then tries to bounce back. Which tries to annul it, if you will. All right. This is how we experience the law of one in our frame of reference. All right. It's different further up the ray of creation. Have you ever considered this? The 3 laws that note C, or sidereal, in other words, the universal, would be very much akin to our thinking, moving, and emotional centers. There's a lot of depth in that, actually.
Could you say that again?
Yeah, sure.
So
that at this level of the ray of creation, where you have 3 laws, just 3, that would be akin to our thinking, moving, and emotional centers down at our level. You see, that would be God's thinking, moving, and emotional center. But the idea here is that everything is trying to resolve back to that equilibrium. Okay, it's trying to resolve back to that homeostasis. Now, the reason it can't here is because of the complexity of it. We've talked about that each level inherits the laws above it, well, except for this one, but each level inherits the laws above it. So at world 6, which is our Milky Way in this particular ray of creation, inherits the 3 laws above it and has 3 of its own, which is the same 3. At world 12, it has the 6 from above it, the 3 above it, and it has 3 of its own, and so on and so forth. Okay, so you still get this local expression of those 3 plus whatever is above it. But can you see that by the time you get down to world 48 and 96 and even below, which is just chaos, that all of these forces that are counterbalancing and counteracting with one another, although they're equal and opposite, become very, very complex. This is why it's so difficult to see.